All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Christine Wyatt. I'm your host for today's webinar about advising and early alerts. And I've been with the company for about 3 years. Now, today we're only going to focus on one small part of a much larger platform here at Upswing. Before we get started, though, I wanted to let everyone know that you can feel free to introduce yourself, maybe your first name and your role and where you're dialing in from, so to speak, in the chat if you like. It's become a fun way to kind of get to know each other and see where people are dialing in from. So today we're going to be talking about early alerts and advising. What we learned at Upswing when the pandemic started was a lot of colleges overnight almost had to go from normal traditional existence to purely online, sometimes overnight. So what we learned were that the colleges that had something like Upswing in place did really well and made that transition within a week. And the colleges that didn't have something in place really scrambled. So they were really trying to find ways to quickly and efficiently take all their student support services and resources online. And that's precisely what we do here at Upswing. So our mission is overall to retain students, and we have a particular focus on non-traditional students. That's your adult learners, your first generation students, purely online students, basically any student that isn't quote unquote traditional. So another thing we've learned is the best way we can leverage technology is to essentially close the gap between the experience that a traditional student has with all of those resources and support services available to them on campus, and the experience that a non-traditional student might have, somebody who may never set foot on campus, or when they do, it's nights or weekends, and a lot of those offices and reports and support services are simply closed. So by taking everything online, you offer that additional flexibility, by having virtual opportunities as well as in-person opportunities to access those resources. You're closing that gap between the experience and the adult learner population is one of the few in terms of enrollment that's actually growing. So it's become more important than ever, and that's kind of what we do here at Upswing. So with that, we'll talk a little bit more about who we are, and then we'll get through the walkthrough. So we've been around for almost 9 years now. We work currently with about 70 colleges and universities across the United States, with one in Canada, and we've retained over 50,000 students in our tenure. So we're backed by all kinds of organizations like ECMC Foundation, Lumina Foundation, Imaginable Futures, Strata Education, and more. So today we have about 600,000 students using our platform, and these are the demographics of those students. So about half come from households with income under $30,000. Almost half are working while in college. 43% are African American or Hispanic. Almost a third are online students only, and 28% are adult learners, which is loosely defined as 24 and older in terms of age. So one of the things we've seen in all the data we've amassed over the 9 years is that non-traditional students, we know that they drop out at about twice the rate of their peers, and it's due to a lack of engagement. And while engagement may not be the simplest thing always to quantify, it certainly is a qualitative data point that's gotten so much more important, certainly since the beginning of the pandemic, but also as this population of adult learners and non-traditional learners continues to grow. So what we've seen is by engaging non-traditional students in particular just 3 times in a semester, the persistence increases on average by 10%. We've seen that increase as high as 15%. So these are 3 quick snippets from our 3 partners I wanted to share with you today. Houston Community College runs tens of thousands of papers through one of our modules called Assignment Review. And what an independent study by Rice University found is that each time a student submits a paper for review, their GPA increases by 0.05, and that stacks. Navarro College, we've worked with for 4 years now, saw an 11% increase in passage rate in courses where students use Upswing when compared to students who did not use Upswing in their services. And finally, United Negro College Fund, we've worked with for just under 2 years. They used to make a lot of phone calls to check in with their STEM scholarship recipients, and they weren't reaching very many of them. So they took all those phone calls and they created an Anna messaging campaign. Now, Anna is our virtual assistant that works purely by text message. And so putting all of those nudges and reminders and check-ins into Anna, the number of students they were able to reach doubled, and they didn't make a single phone call. So one of the things I also wanted to talk to you about today is just how powerful it is to use Upswing to support your whole student. So what we say at Upswing is that you don't want to try and make your students college ready. You want to make your college student ready. And thanks, Samantha, for taking over the driver's seat. I appreciate it. So what we do is this combination of virtual sessions, non-academic services, and advising in academic services. All of this is rooted and kind of anchored through our virtual assistant, Lana. So for the virtual sessions, what we have is an interactive space that's virtual, where students can come and they can have coaching sessions or academic sessions or tutoring sessions, and they have video and audio as well as chat. So this year, we were the first engagement platform to launch a non-academic service, and we focused on mental health and wellness. So we have 3 different components, kind of a critical hotline where people can go, and if they're in crisis, they know where they need to reach out. Second is a private and confidential mental health screening. And third is a catalog of over 140 mental health videos from our partner at PsychHub. So we understand you have to support the whole student. If a student has challenges with food insecurity or mental health, they're going to affect their academic performance and their ability to stay enrolled in school. So finally, what we'll touch on today is the advising and academic services. If you want to advance to the next one there, Samantha, perfect. I wanted to really pause here before we get to the product walkthrough and talk about the impact of academic advising. So this has been around forever, but I at least haven't really ever given it a lot of thought in terms of what the benefits are. So I did a lot of research preparing for today's presentation, and I found 3 different studies that I'll share with you in a follow-up email. If you're interested, you can certainly reach out. We'll give you all the sources for these studies. One study found that 2,000 undergraduates, when they were asked about their relationship with their college advisors and mentors, 44% of those students who responded said they didn't have a mentor at all that helped them navigate college. Now, that's one thing if you're not a first generational student, but imagine if you are a first generation student, you're trying to navigate this system, everything from the FAFSA and financial aid to how many classes you should take and whether they should be virtual or in person or both. It's a lot to navigate. So it's amazing to me that almost half had no one to lean on. Another study found that advising creates a greater sense of satisfaction with the institution. So this is another one of those qualitative data points that I think has a lot of meaning. If students are satisfied, if they have a sense of belonging when they go to school, they're much more likely to stay enrolled and continue on in their education. And then finally, and most powerfully, I think, for every meeting with an academic advisor, one study found that the odds that the student will be retained increased by 13%. That's huge. So when thinking about all of this and the importance of advising, one of the things we want to help every institution we work with do is to do this at scale, which means flexibility, which means the ability to capture all of your student advising or coaching sessions in one platform, in one place. And it shouldn't matter whether they're in person and you want to capture that session and what it was about and the notes or early alerts, or whether it was completely virtual. So Upswing houses all this in one spot. So if you'll advance one more, Samantha, we're going to have a final point here to bring it home. This one to me was pretty staggering. So this is from the National Academic Advising Association, and it says, the average ratio of students to academic advisors is 375 to 1. So I remember meeting with my academic advisor, and I remember it was short, to the point, and there was only one focus. Am I taking the courses I need to get the degree I want on the timeline that I have established? It was really never about anything more than that, but I think students today are dealing with a lot more than they need help with. So I did a little bit of my own research. So public institutions often post their faculty to student ratios, as well as their academic advising and mental health resources, student to therapy or student to academic advisor ratios. I found ratios as high as 1,100 students to 1. It kind of depends on how specialized the subjects are in many cases. So it's incredibly hard to scale on your own. So that's where Upswing comes in. You can go to the next slide. All right, this is the core of what we're going to look at today. I want to be totally transparent about the solution that we have and what it's built to do. So our advising and early alerts are really purpose-built to solve 4 core challenges on campus that I believe pretty much every campus has. So we're really good at scheduling either advising or coaching sessions in person or virtually. And those sessions take place in a virtual environment in which students can have audio, video, they have a chat. They also have a smart board that they can annotate on, and then they can download the chat or the smart board as a PDF after each session. And all of that session information, again, is housed all in one place. And the early alerts ensure that students' challenges, which are all across the board today, they could be financial, they could be personal, mental health, they could be work related or family related, or they could be academic related. We want to make sure those student challenges are kind of cataloged and identified with tags. They're shared amongst the people that really make up that student support team, if you will. And most importantly, we try to make it easy by centralizing all these notes and early alerts to act upon these challenges for students and get them the help they need when they need it. All of these interactions are all in one system and one reporting engine in Upswing. It captures every single interaction within the platform or every check-in on campus, all in one spot. So from just one partner perspective, I wanted to share a quick quote from Alcorn State University, a partner of ours. They said, "I believe that the ability to assign specific students to specific advisors will create more organization within our department, therefore enabling us to tend to the academic needs of our students much faster." So they've been a great partner of ours, and they've found this to be true. So one more slide, and I think we're ready to do the walkthrough. All right, the last thing I always want to mention, because it's such a huge differentiator, is our HERO program. So a lot of companies you work with might have an account manager or a client success person. At Upswing, we are a true partner, and we have what's called a HERO program. So HERO stands for Higher Education Retention Officer, and it is your single point of contact from implementation and training all the way to renewal. So this person knows you personally, they know your school, they know a lot about the demographics of your students, they know what your goals are in using Upswing, what your retention numbers look like, and throughout the year, they'll come back to you with their training in higher education, which sometimes we hire them right out of educational institutions, and sometimes we train them when they come to us. They provide best practices across all the data that they have access to. So for example, if you're a Hispanic serving institution and you're looking to write a grant, a 5-year grant, we can tell you how other institutions have done that successfully. If you're an HBCU and you want to focus on, students in a nursing program, like we can get really specific and we can pair your data and compare that with other peer institutions, just to let you know, in some cases, this is what worked really well for them. It might work well for you too. Also, your HERO is going to be the person who coordinates your Anna campaign. So Anna is that virtual assistant that sends nudges and reminders, but also polls students. And maybe most importantly, surprisingly, it sends motivational messages to students. Those are huge. Just like a sense of belonging or a sense of satisfaction with the institution, knowing that your institution cares about you through Anna is a big boost for all of our students. And the campaigns are written by our team. The reporting and analytics are managed by our team. So really, you just have to kind of tell us what your goals are. All that is set up and managed through your HERO and through the team that the HERO works with at Upswing. Every year, in academic year, they present a whole annual engagement and usage report, both for the platform as well as for Anna. So you're going to know what your student engagement looked like, how many students logged in, how many students used the system, and how many students had a great experience. And after time, we have enough data, we can tie that back to things like persistence, retention, and GPA increase. So with that, I'm going to pop out of here. I'm going to give it one more shot here to share my screen. All right, Samantha, it looks like I'm still on the same issue. If you want to go ahead and pop open the environment, that'll be great. Thank you, perfect. All right, we're gonna start out as a student. So we're gonna log in as a student named Zach. And Zach is gonna have access to the whole platform, but we're gonna stick with just advising and early alerts. And after this, we're going to do a really quick tour from the admin's point of view. So here you see everything's super clean, color coded. Blue is for tutoring. Red is for meeting with an advisor. Everything that's color coded green is for writing, whether it's an asynchronous ability to upload an assignment, see the writing lab, or format your citations. You can manage all your in-platform messages. On your calendar, you can see all your sessions regardless of what kind they are. You can actually check in at a campus location for those physical in-person appointments. And at the bottom, we can access that mental health and support. So we're going to go ahead and click on Meet with an Advisor. And this is super simple for students, so we won't have long to walk through it. So in this one spot, Zach can see everything that's coming up. He can see advising notifications. He can see the assignments that are, the advisors that are assigned to him in your advisors. There's 2. You can assign as many advisors as you want to one student. Often we'll find, maybe you want to have a specific type of advisor for athletes, or a specific kind if they're in a health program versus more general education. And at the bottom right here, where it says your school's advisors, every school approaches this differently. Sometimes you will only see your advisors as a student because you're absolutely assigned to those. Or there may be a pool of advisors that you can go to. And this is where I can see all the different ones. So if I look here at the categories, you can also see, and we can set these up with you and for you, you can set up categories and subcategories that give you the ability as a student to filter through and see, I really want help with career advising, or specifically with career services or career prep. And that will tell me on the back end all of the advisors my school has that are able and willing to offer support there. So on the left-hand side, I can see all my upcoming advising sessions. So I can see here, I've got one that's pending. I've requested one with my advisor named Sarah Cares, and I'm just waiting for Sarah to accept. That's the status. If you scroll down just a little bit, you can actually see the whole history by clicking on that view all past and future sessions. So if you click left and right next to that December, you can scroll through all the different things that have happened for Zach here. And we can see all of his different sessions and whether they were completed or whether he missed a session, which is also important to know. And if we just go back to that main advising screen there, there's a little blue bar, which is the last thing I'll cover on these little widgets here. We don't need to click it, but it just allows the students to get text message reminders. 98% of text messages on the phone are read by a student, so it's a great idea to get them to sign up for text message reminders. We definitely found that if a student gets an email reminder and a text message reminder, they're much more likely to actually remember to show up for that session on time. Now, the last thing I'll do is if we just want to go ahead and click on Schedule with Sarah Cares up in the top right, you'll see how easy it is for a student to, first of all, just learn a little bit about Sarah. The About Me section has something about her personality, her background, her experience, educational information. And these categories are, again, the ones we set up with you to go through all the things that could be covered in your session with Sarah, just to make sure this person is actually a great fit for you. If there's something in between registration and career services, for example, if Zach wanted to, he could just click the top right, send a message to Sarah. But if he's sure this is a great fit, he can either see online or in-person availability, and then just click on select a time. So from here, we could see all the drop downs of categories, and reason is that kind of subcategory. I can pick a date that works well for me, and a time and a session duration. I can also upload a file. So if maybe this is about an internship and I want Sarah to help me review my cover letter, I can just zip up a file from my desktop. So we can cancel out of this, but that's how simple it is just to schedule something either in person or online with Sarah. All right, that's it. That's how simple it is. All right, at this point, we're going to log out. Take a moment. We're going to log in as an administrator. And we're going to look at notes and early alerts from that perspective. All right. So if you click on advising on the left here, this is the admin dashboard. So it's got a lot of information. We're just going to click through a couple things. The first thing we're going to land on here is all the notes and session summary. And you can see and filter by date created, the student, the advisor. You can type free form in the note. You can also uncheck the box under the top right to see any old archived things as well. So sometimes you can archive notes because they're not used anymore. And sometimes you want to go through and see everything. Totally up to you. It's all available. Now from here, I can do a couple things. I can filter by groups. So if I drop down, select a group, you get to tell us what groups you would like to create. And then we can filter by groups, which also helps you filter your reporting. Or as an admin, if I had an interaction with a student or I was made aware of one, you could actually, as an admin, create notes. Advisors are the only other people who could do that. So advisors that have access to that student can do it. And notes are free form. They're just to, again, capture any kind of challenges or obstacles or areas of concern for students. So they're here, and that anyone who needs access to it, who is assigned to that student, can get it. So if we cancel out of this note, the next thing we'll do is scroll down just a little bit. We've got two sections here under notes. We can export all the data at any time on all of these notes and sessions, and can even create a custom export if you want. And once you create a custom export, if you drop down that select a custom export configuration drop down, you can go back to custom reports. You don't have to actually create them again and again. And you'll always get at that sample roll, you'll get a preview of all the data you're about to export. All right. Last thing under notes is also on the bottom. This is where underneath the notes, we'll see all of the advisor sessions. Again, you can filter by all these top column headings like date, advisor, category, and so on. Under status, you can also filter. It's really common that people want to see the completed ones. So you may just want to run a report on all the completed sessions for all the students. And again, for all the advisor sessions, you can also filter that by groups. Perfect. And at the bottom, we have the exact same options. So I won't spend too much time on it, but you can export exactly what you see here based on your filters, or you can create a custom export that you can use again and again and edit in the future. All right, that's it for notes and sessions. If you go all the way back up to the top, we're going to drop down that notes and the views. So here's where I can see things like student and advisor associations. Click right there just for a second. This is where we can help you map or group your students with specific advisors. It's super simple. You can do it manually here one at a time, or you'll see this assignment to Jessica Alonso down at the bottom, because that's who we have selected. You can actually import a CSV file to map those students or assign those students to Jessica. So as we go through, if you click on, for example, that second one, that second name, Sarah Cares up at the top, you'll see her existing students pop up. And it's super easy also to delete any students, manually add students, or add them in bulk by adding them in CSV. Your hero can also help you do this too. All right, if you go back up to views and drop that menu down again, session reason configuration, this is where we partner with you to say, okay, what kinds of reasons might a student come to advising? And let's capture that top level category and that sub level category for the reasons. It helps you be a little bit more granular. And again, based on the type of reason, helps you filter your reporting later. It's just that simple. All right, last one under the drop is the advising settings. This is extremely simple. It just really says under select durations, you get to choose what the student sees when they say, I want to schedule an advising or coaching sessions. So when you select the durations, we give you all these options. The check marks denote the ones that you would like to show up for a student. In this case, it's all summarized on the right-hand side where it says duration options available to students. So students currently could choose 10, 15, or 30-minute sessions. And the default is going to be 30 because that's also what we have checked. If you make any changes, you just hit save changes. But since we didn't make any, we're pretty much done. So we allow you a ton of flexibility in what students can choose. Sometimes they just need a quick answer, and sometimes they really need to sit down and go through their schedule for next spring, for example. All right, with that, we got our last stop, which is early alerts. All right. Now, the first thing you're going to see at the top under early alerts is view and manage. We're going to stick with view for now. So view tells me all of my existing alerts that I have created. And you can do that at any time, which we'll see in a moment. So now you see two tabs also, one for all alerts. And this one should start to look familiar from other reporting. In Upswing, you can filter by status. And when you create an alert, you can set it at low, medium, and high. And these little flags correlate to those colors. So low is yellow, medium is orange, red is obviously high. You can sort by, again, any of these column headings. So here you have all of your alerts and the ones that have been created. There's many pages of them. You can either go through, see all these, you can see them by student or by whom they were created. And then if we go to the Students tab, now instead of looking at all alerts, you're starting to get into students. So if we started to click on, say, type in Zach. So by the third letter, you'll start to get that option. You can click into Zach. And then we can click on the advising tab. Don't have to actually have to, it lands right there. So you can see right here, all of Zach's sessions all in one spot. Perfect. All right, we're going to go back one. And now we're going to go to manage on this page. So this is where you can see all of your alerts or create a new one. You see the alert name, the alert description, which is a longer description. You can see the priority it's been assigned. And you may decide actually a student having lower than a 2.0 for a semester is actually not high, it's medium. So all of these are adjustable at any time. So you can see the tags also, and tags are thinking, you can think of them as metadata. So, yes, GPA is pretty self-explanatory, but what does it relate to? I might want to tag that with academics, but falling below 2.0 or, something additional might be actually something behavioral as well as academic. So we have these different tags for things like finance or personal or academic and so on. So it helps you get a bit more granular. So for each of these existing and active alerts, I can see how many open alerts there are. So 4 students have this alert currently. There's 11 that have been closed. If I click on the cog to the right of these, I can edit these at any time. I can also retire them. So if I want to create a new alert, just click on that big green button and it's going to walk me through the process. So we don't have to go through all this, but I wanted you to at least see the alert name. You put in here a longer description. You can tag that alert, set low, medium, and high. And then on the next page, we're a little long on time, so I won't go there, but on the next page, you can actually create a template email. So for specific early alerts, it might be, again, related to GPA slipping beyond like a 2.0. I might want to automatically alert certain people with a templatized email. I can go in and change that email, but it makes it really quick to do that for lots of students. So you can choose to have that email fire off to either the student and or their support team, or maybe just the support team. It's up to you, but you can create those templates. You can edit them at any time, and it helps you have consistency in communication, but also gives you the flexibility to change those templates. So at this point, I've gone through all the different aspects I wanted to cover today. Thanks for bearing with us when I had a few technical difficulties there. So I want to give everyone a moment to process, and then I'd love to hear any and all questions in the chat. So Samantha is obviously my co-pilot today, stepping in to help. So Samantha, if you want to start us off with any questions.
Yeah, we did have one question in the chat come in, which was, can you vary the meeting duration based on the reason for the appointment?
That's a great question. Time. We don't have the ability to say if the reason equals X, the time is automatically Y. That's a great question. I'm gonna actually take that down as a feature request. We've not had that from current partners to my knowledge, but I'm gonna take that down actually as a feature request. That's a great question. What we'd wanna do is just ensure that if you think there are certain reasons that will be longer, for example, you make sure you make that 60-minute or 120 minutes, whatever you'd like, available there. But that's a great question. Yeah, that one came from Sheila. Any other questions, Sam, came through?
Well, I had a question, which is, are the sessions available on staff and students' calendars outside of Upswing?
That's a really great question. And we've had this one frequently from partners. So today, the calendar that we briefly saw when you land on the landing page, everything is housed in there for the student, and it's all within Upswing. But tomorrow in Q1, we're actually introducing a calendar integration. So it works across all the calendars people use, whether it's iCal or Outlook or whatever that might be. And it basically mirrors and looks at your time and will port all of your Upswing sessions onto your personal calendar if you're a student, or onto your staff or professional calendar if you happen to work for the institution. So that's actually coming in Q1. It makes it so much easier on the advising side, especially to manage your scheduling. And that way students, you can set up your availability, but it's great also to have that kind of managed through the calendar you already work with every day. Other questions?
Yeah, we had one more come in. I recognize we're at time.
Yeah, no problem.
Is it possible to utilize specific portions of Upswing, for example, Anna only?
It's possible. We started selling the platform and offering that as a holistic solution in 2019. So when someone signs on, you get access to all the platform. If you want to step into different modules, you can. But we have learned through our data that it works best if Anna also has the ability to tie that student back to things within the Upswing platform. So it's possible. We recommend you use as much of the platform that makes sense for you. If you have something else you're using for tutoring, that's okay. You can use other modules within Upswing like mental health or advising or Anna. So we've had different institutions adopt different modules over time. It's totally possible. Good question. All right, I think we are at time. Went by fast. I really appreciate everyone showing up this week, the week after a break, to learn more about advising and early alerts with us here at Upswing. Please stay tuned. Next Tuesday, we have a fantastic partner-led webinar. I hope you can all come back and attend. It's about peer tutoring. So if that's of interest to you, we have 2 panelists from Samuel Merritt, which they're going to talk about their peer tutoring program and how it has grown and some of the challenges they've had to solve. So that is next Tuesday at noon Central Time. So let us know if you would like an invite to that, or you can go, if you get our newsletter, it will be advertised there in our newsletter. So that will be the last webinar from Upswing for the year. And I think we actually saved the best for last because they have a lot to share about peer tutoring and tutoring in general. Okay, great. We'll get that over to you, David. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Thank you, Samantha, for your report. And I will see you all soon. I hope you have a great rest of the week. Thanks, everyone.